Hi, my name is Nashwa. Thank you very much for watching this video. I passed the ACE exam yesterday, and I am taking this video to share what the exam was about and then how I studied. I'm taking this video because those video on the YouTube was really helpful for me, because when you are taking the online course, you do not have the accountability. You don't really see the classmates, and then you usually study by yourself and learning by yourself. So um, I learned a lot watching video on the YouTube from those who passed the exam previously. I hope I hope this video will help you to understand about the nature of the exam. That's the first things I'm going to talk, and also will give some helpful advice for how to study. That's the second part I'm going to. So the first part is about exam. So I took the exam yesterday again. What I felt, the first things is the time is really tight. Maybe because English is my second language. That's why I felt that way. But you have 150 questions, and you have 2.5 hours, which means you have 1 minute for each question. Some of the questions are quite easy to answer and very simple, but a lot of the question, which I was quite a surprise, really a lot of the question is quite a long and longer than the questions I practiced in the ACE practical test. I'm sorry about that. Self-test and also test.com. So be ready for that and be mindful with the timekeeping. That will help, because I didn't do it and I was quite upset at the end. You need to pass a 70%. Okay, so the second things about the exam is a lot of the question you're going to answer is based on actual situation. So what I mean is, when you're studying, when you're taking the self-test or practical, oh, this words are so hard for me to pronounce, practical test, um, practical test, okay, are to make sure whether you know the term, whether you know that strategy, whether you know that muscle components and a body composition, something like that. So for example, there's a question to answer intensity for the face fitness training, okay? So that's a very simple, but in the test, in the exam, how they're going to ask you is starting like, oh, you have a new client who used to be a runner, and then they stopped running because of the pregnancy, and then she start training again, and she completed 3 days a week, 20 minutes for a while, and what kind of intensity now she's ready for, right? So this is a quite long compared to just asking what is the intensity for the fitness training. So you need to well aware of the each term and be able to apply. So that's the second thing I felt about exam. So let's go to a second part. So it's about what to do and what not to do while you're studying. So first things about what to do is, it's really important that you have enough time for study. This is also what I regret about. So I signed up the ACE exam at the end of 2021, and then I should have studied right after, because I was traveling and I didn't really study for a couple weeks, and then I only have maximum 2 months to study. It felt really tight as well. I think I could do that. I could spare a lot of my time for study because I'm self-employed and I can manage my time quite easily. The way you study is not just remember the term, but again, you need to be familiar with, and you need to be able to apply the terms and a condition in the actual situation. So that's the one. And then the second is read a book again and again and again. Okay, so I think a lot of people already talked about that in the other video as well. But most important part of the study is reading the book. I read a book once, and then along with that taking the test, I keep reading. I go back to the book and read the section which was asked in the test. So I continue doing that. So at the end of the day, you know where to read at. And also it's nice to have this tape as well so that you can go back. The third things, what to do is try as many tests as possible. Not sure if I correct English, but I just said, just try to test, keep trying to test. So what I did test, pre-test is, first of all, I took all the tests in this book, which is a study comparison. There are about 10 questions for each chapter, which means there are 15 chapters. So you will be able to practice 150 tests in this book. But I kind of felt this book that what they ask in this book is very, very general idea. And then also in the ACE dashboard, you have 50 practical tests. And then I got another to set up the practical test. So I have 300 more tests on the ACE dashboard because I pay for the audiobook, which I am going to talk later, but which I regret to do that. And then also some of the people who took the test recommended test.com, and I highly recommend that as well. And I also took the test there, so 100 questions. So what I did is a total 400 questions to practice my knowledge with. And so I was thinking, oh, should I do more? But then instead of doing more, what I did was I did at least 3 times the review on each question to make sure that I hit the correct, not only the correct, but I understand. And then those things can be applied in the actual situation. So those are 3 things what to do: enough time and read a book and try the many tests. All right. So the next thing is what not to do. What not to do, there is only one thing that I would like to suggest to really save your time and the money. So I pay maybe 300 extra US bucks to get the audiobook and then an additional 100 practical tests. And I don't think it was it, honestly speaking, because the audio is it's quite not customized. I would say if it's each chapter you have an audio, and then I got that audiobook because reading the book was really challenging for me, and I thought, oh, maybe I can listen while I'm traveling, like I'm cooking or I do like walking. But what happened is that each chapter, there's no section divided. So each chapter is quite long, just one audio. And so let's say you stop in the middle, and the next time you start, they don't start from the middle, but they always start from the beginning, and they don't really tell you the time as well. So it's really hard to keep the track to listen the audio, like which section you heard, you listen or not. And then also what I felt not very feasible, or it's not really comfortable to study with the audio is that if you're basically you listen to audio with your phone, right? And if you are using your phone for other things like writing the email or checking the video, and the audio stop. So I think it's maybe a nature of the app to do that, but I don't think it was easy for me to do. And yes, the 100 additional question was very, very helpful, but I suggest instead of paying $300 for the ACE, pay $30 to the test.com to get 700 questions, which I didn't do it because that was I realized that a week before, and then I thought, oh, maybe it's too tight to start something really new. Instead, let's go back and review, and that's also helped as well. So I didn't do it, but I suggest that I think that's a good way to invest extra money if you are willing to. At the end, let's go to each chapter, where to focus. So first of all, the section 1, chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 1 is a scope of practice that will be important in the exam as well. And then chapter 2, it's about ACE integrated fitness training model. When you start reading a book, this is the first time you come across that idea. And then what I felt is I don't really understand. But then no worries. At the end, in the entire book, it's talk about that. So this is like an introduction of the theory, and then later on the chapters, they are going to the details. So you just need to have a very basic idea. So let's go to the next section, section 2. So chapter 3, you need to remember the stage of the behavior change. This is really, really, really important. I think there are multiple questions about this stage of the behavior change in the exam. So not only remember, understand that each idiom, but also let's just go into that how this can be applied into the actual situation. Think about if your client's asking a certain question, you need to be able to understand whether she's in the maintenance stage or action stage or pre-contemplation stage. So that's a chapter 3. So chapter 4, it's very, 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 very important. I think one of the most important chapter, and then you will come across a lot of questions in the exam. It's a stage of the client personal trainer relationship, stage of learning style, indicator. There are table of the learning style indicator in the chapter 4. I think it was just to remember that, and then so that whatever the question comes, apply to in the which is applied to the actual situation, you will understand what they're talking about. Okay, I think there are a few questions in the exam about stage of learning and a stage of the client personal trainer relationship. So the chapter 5, it's about medication. About the medication, I think there are a few questions about the beta blocker. I think it's quite important to remember what's the beta blocker, what's the benefit, what need to be taken into the consideration for the client who are taking the beta blocker. So that's about chapter 5. And in chapter 6 is a nutrition. You just need to have a basic idea about fat, carbohydrate, and protein. And you need to be able to understand the nutrition level and be able to calculate that. All right, so let's go to, that's all about section 2. So move to the section 3. Assessment, programming, and progression. Chapter 7. Okay, so let's go to chapter 7. So chapter 7 is be able to calculate BMI, classification of the overweight is important. And I would say 8 and 11 are huge. And then also it's a bit challenging. So I read a couple times from the chapter 8 to 11 to make sure I know that each muscle, and then I know that assessment, and then I know that about the programming as well. Okay, so in chapter 12 and then 15, compared to chapter 8 and 11, that level of the importance is not that high, but there's certainly their question from these each chapter as well. So be able to go through that. Okay, at the end, chapter 16, this is also very, very important. And there are a couple questions. It's about a legal contract and a legal guideline and a business consideration. So what they ask, especially in this chapter 15, is there are two things. One is negligence, and then another thing is risk management. And also there's one more, it's important legal forms. So those are things that are quite important to remember as well. And then I believe there never be you never be too old or too young to learn and something new and to challenge something new, and especially the physical health is such a human asset, so it's important for all age and then all the physicality as well. So thank you very much and all the best.